Our budget, which replaces Sequester with half revenues and half more targeted spending cuts, I believe moves us in that right direction. We in Virginia, in many ways, are ground zero of the effects of Sequester.
This Senate budget is a compromise like all are, and there will be more compromise that should take place in any normal process. But the budget does a very good job in a number of ways. It tackles the challenging task of deficit reduction to get us to figures that would be very much the equivalent of what had been recommended in the Simpson-Bowles reports, as Senator Warner indicated. It focuses upon economic growth, a growth agenda, which is the most important thing we need to be focused on in this body. And it does it in a balanced way that incorporates real savings and also appropriate reform of revenues. It is impossible to fix a balance sheet by just focusing on one side of the balance sheet. Business leaders know this. Governors know this. Everyday Americans know this.
Will the senator yield?
I will yield, Senator.
I'd like to just ask the senator, and as I know he has seen, and he's very familiar with these installations and families because of his tenure as governor. But I guess you might want to also make the point, Senator, is it not true that in an area like Hampton Roads, where you put these folks on furlough, and the literally 88,000, 98,000 immediately affected, can you also talk to the point of the ripple effect this has for the literally thousands of others who provide the support services, restaurants, gas stations, auto repair, you name it, that rely upon those folks having jobs as well?
Absolutely, Senator. I'm glad you brought that up. When folks are furloughed and they see their pay reduced, then they're going to spend less at the dry cleaner, they're going to spend less at the restaurant, they're going to delay the purchase of the automobile that they had planned for this year. They're going to be doing all kinds of things to tighten their spending. That's going to affect shopkeepers and merchants in their area. When I was governor early in my term, Ford decided to close a plant with a couple of thousand workers in Norfolk, and the ripple of that throughout the economy, a couple of thousand workers, was very significant. To take 90,000 civilian DOD employees in a state like Virginia, heavily concentrated in Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads, and to furlough them and to reduce their salaries, this is going to be felt throughout this economy. And this is just one of the many effects of furlough, many effects of Sequester, these civilian furloughs.
You can't cut and tax your way out of this problem. You got to have a growth agenda. And any good company and any good country has a business plan. And any business plan and any country or company that's going to compete in the 21st century has to do at least three things. They got to invest in their workforce, they got to invest in their infrastructure, they got to stay ahead of their competition, and that's in research and development.
An all-cuts approach is like looking in a mirror and wishing you were weaker, because an all-cuts approach makes you weaker. It makes you weaker in defense. It makes you weaker in education. It makes you weaker in infrastructure. It by laying people off in jobs, makes you weaker because your unemployment rate is higher. An all-cuts approach is like looking in the mirror and wishing you were weaker. I don't want to be weaker. I don't want this nation to be weaker. We have to be stronger. Can we make cuts? Sure we can, and we have, and we'll make more. But we ought to be focused on being stronger, about growing the economy and growing jobs. And that's why the approach that the Senate takes is the right approach.